Hi everybody, today we are talking about the much anticipated iPad Pro. ZDNet's Jason Cipriani has been able to get his hands on the device, and we're going to do things a little bit different today. Usually we have a pretty good setup for how we're going to film videos sitting at home, but today we are testing out the new center stage front-facing camera here on the iPad Pro. So keep that in mind as we go through today's interview. Jason, we're not going to start there. We're actually going to talk about that new display on the iPad Pro with the liquid Retina XDR.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. What Apple essentially did was take the technology they have in their XDR display that costs about $6,000 and shrink it down into a display that is now 12.9 inches. It's brighter, color saturation is better, it's more vivid. The resolution is the same, but the picture quality overall is just clear and crisp. And I've been struggling over the last week that I've been using the new iPad Pro, figuring out how to describe it. And the only way that I can put it so it's easy to understand and relate, at least for Apple users, is that the first time I used a Retina display MacBook and seeing the difference between a standard MacBook and a Retina display, or even a Retina iPhone compared to the previous model, it's going through that all over again. Just the text looks clear and crisp, images are bright, and they just look lifelike, and just subtle things all over. It's not one of those you open it and look at it and you're like, oh wow, this looks amazing. But as you start using it, you're like, wait, that looks really clear. That's sharp. It's so. I think designers are going to absolutely love this. Graphic artists are absolutely going to love the way this looks. It's true to life, more true to life than probably anything Apple has released as far as display technology goes.
That is, as you were saying that, I was trying to think of how I would try to describe that. And I really don't know how. I have Retina on one laptop and I don't on another laptop, and switching back and forth, it is night and day. You having that on an iPad Pro, that's incredible. Another thing that's incredible is the M1 processor. It's been rolled out. We're starting to see it. It's now in the iPad Pro. I'm running an M1 MacBook Air right now. This thing, super freaking fast, unbelievable. I love it. What do you think about it in the iPad Pro?
So I'm coming from a 2018 iPad Pro, which had the A12 processor. And this is impressively fast in the 2021 iPad Pro. And it blows my mind. I have a MacBook Pro with an M1 processor and 16 gigs of RAM. The review unit Apple sent me has 1 terabyte of storage and 16 gigs of RAM in it. And I can literally I work primarily on iPad. I could go do all of my workflows. And in the past, I'd have to constantly reload tabs when I opened up Safari, or go in and refresh an app when I went into it. And now apps just stay open and running in the background. There's no refreshing, and stuff is it's zippy. And I hate using that word to describe how fast something is, but it is straight up zippy and just impressively fast. And all of that is in an iPad now, which is just mind-boggling to me. For why do we need all this power in a tablet? It's there's a bigger story here, I think.
Oh, there's absolutely a bigger story. Because what you're running on that device is what I'm running on my laptop device. And that just seems interesting that the two need the same amount of power.
Yeah.
There's definitely more to that story, and it'll be interesting to see what comes from that. The iPad Pro now, just shifting even to being more like a laptop. It has Thunderbolt 4 ports for data transfers and external display support. I mean, if you don't want to invest in a laptop, invest in the iPad Pro. It just seems like it's a laptop all on its own.
Right. And the iPad Pro and now the Air have had USB-C support for a few years. And they've allowed you to connect accessories and even external displays. You could do it on a Lightning iPad as well with the right adapters. And you don't get to take full advantage of an external display. There's boxes on the side. It doesn't fill up the entire display. And it's just mirroring what's on your screen. But Thunderbolt 4 is the same thing that's in the new M1 Max. So again, we're on a level playing field here with Apple's top of the line computers and an iPad. And so, data transfer has been great. I've connected it to displays. There's zero lag. It's really responsive. But again, there's got to be more to Thunderbolt 4 support coming to the iPad than just, oh, you can transfer your pictures and videos over faster now.
Yeah, it all plays into something that is to come. We'll see. But so next thing I want to talk about is this center stage technology that we're using. I mentioned it at the beginning of this interview. You were filming on the iPad Pro. We are seeing the center stage work in quote unquote real time. It's cool. I think this is technology, you and I were speaking, this is technology that is coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic that would have never been considered before the pandemic, and is now we realize how essential that is.
Yeah, so what Apple did is they took the Face ID camera that's been in the iPad Pro for a couple of years now, and they put a wide angle camera in there, and then they created a software solution that follows you around. So you are on Zoom all day long, you don't want to sit, you could get up and walk around and you stay in frame. Or if another person were to walk in right now with me, it would zoom out, it would recognize the second person is there, and it would keep both of us in frame the entire time, which I think is really cool. But here's the problem they really solved with this, and I've been a loud complainer about the fact that the camera is on the side of the iPad Pro and not centered when the iPad is in or horizontal landscape mode, because that's where it makes sense, right? That's where you want to look.
Yeah.
But by using center stage, it's as if the camera's there anyways. And it does a really good job following me around. Maybe I'm too far out there. Maybe we tricked it. But, as long as you're moving slow and not slow, but, not trying to trick it, I think it does a pretty good job. I've used it on countless calls over the last week, and I've had people ask me what I'm doing, and I'm just testing something, it's been fun.
Yeah, I'm not trying to brag on Apple here. That the technology was working really, really well before we started this. I was very impressed. He was walking all the way around the room. It was following him. And like you said, being on Zoom calls all day sucks. And whether you're in the office or whether you're at home, just being able to get up and walk around and that camera be able to follow you, that's really impressive technology. So obviously some of the software had to update for that to happen. What other software updates are we looking at?
Well, that's the bigger story, like we've talked about a couple times here and hinted to, is that we're getting this iPad Pro at the end of May, and on June 7th is WWDC, where Apple usually announces the next version of software for all of its mobile devices, well, all of its devices. So we have this way overpowered iPad Pro now.
Absolutely.
That's actually faster than a MacBook when you look at the benchmarks. And we have software that can't take advantage of it at all. And so I think the first part of the story is Apple releases an M1 iPad Pro. And the second part of the story, which we have to wait a few more weeks for, is iPadOS 15 is out. And here is now what is going to take advantage of all that power and all that memory inside the iPad Pro. And I can't wait to see what Apple does. This is an extremely fast, efficient machine. And if we're going to get a huge software upgrade, I hope we do, it should be able to do some pretty cool stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, I've been running M1 for months now. It's impressive. It's fast. I love the processor. Blows Intel out of the water. I can't imagine what it's like on an iPad. And so to have that software coming available that it will take advantage of, what we're assuming will be software that takes advantage of that M1 processor, should be, it's going to be the bigger story. It's awesome. I'm so excited. I can't wait for WWDC. I think there will be a lot to learn. But until then, if you are interested in checking out the iPad Pro, we've got it linked below for you. Jason, thank you so much for showing us the camera as it shifts around and follows you around the room, and for explaining everything new that's in the iPad Pro. As always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, for all things tech and all things Apple, be sure to stick with ZDNet. Thanks for watching.